All right, my friends, welcome to episode 273 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry. I am a professor, and I am at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev, at Summer Speak. How are you doing post-Christmas?
Doing okay. Just been relaxing over the weekend. I don't have to go back to work for another week from tomorrow.
Nice.
So just chilling out with the family and the kids. Watching my son get super deep into No Man's Sky, way farther than I've ever gone.
Dang, man. What a game.
He's all in on that game.
Has he gotten to the center of the universe?
Nope. But he's just building things.
Yeah.
Upgrading his freighters, getting more ships, getting I've looked at his ship. He has almost all the inventory spots open on his ship and his backpack.
Wow.
I don't know. He's just going.
Yeah.
I don't even know. He rambles stuff off to me now, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
That all sounds great, but I don't know what it is.
He's like, don't you know about this and this? And I'm like, no, don't know about any of that actually.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, I'm
Which
glad
I'm
that
like,
he's into it like that, you know?
No, it's cool to see him into that.
It's a good game to be into at that age, I think.
Yeah. The only problem is he would love to be playing it all hours of the day, and he can't. And sometimes that makes him a little upset.
Oh yeah, that's a little problematic.
Yeah. Still can't have the unlimited screen time.
Right. Nope, but not even me. I'm 39. Not even me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's going.
Well, I've got 4 words for you that I think will mean nothing, but I want to say them anyways because I'm very excited. Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams. Anything?
Are they NFL players?
Yes. I can't even tell you how much I destroyed my opponent this week in the championship. I won my fantasy football league for the second year in a row. I am the only person in the whole league who doesn't watch a minute of football and doesn't spend a second thinking about the pre-draft shit. I just auto-draft, and then I start paying attention and researching during the season and picking people up and trading people around. I have 240 points, and my opponent has 142 in this final match. It's a complete slaughter. Man, fantasy football is so fun. And it pisses people off to no end when they find out that you don't actually care about football or watch football.
They're like, what are you doing? How do you even pick anything? You're like, I don't know. It's random.
No, it's totally not random. I do tons of reading and research. I just don't watch the game at all because I don't care about football.
There you go.
Yep. So that's me.
So you're just purely looking at stats then?
Yep. Stats, looking at like depth charts, seeing who's coming up behind whatever person, checking out injuries, all that kind of fun research stuff. But I do not do any of that before the draft. So I just draft whoever the computer says is good. Worked out 2 years in a row. So I'm pretty stoked. Money.
Yeah. How much do you get for that?
It's $175. So not too crazy.
Hey, that's still nothing to sneeze at there.
Yeah, no, it's good. So I'm pretty stoked. Speaking of games that nobody cares about, this is a Game of the Year discussion, part 1. Next week, to be clear, we're going to have our real Game of the Year discussion where we talk about the games that we played and loved. And this might be the biggest no-brainer foregone conclusion of any year of podcasts we've ever done, but we're still going to do it because it's going to be fun for next week. But this week, I proposed a really silly idea, Game of the Year, about games that we didn't play or played very little of that, if we had played them, might make our GotY list. Basically, the best games that seem like they'd be up our alley, but we just didn't get to or didn't have time to get to for one reason or another. So, very silly, but there you go. For this list, Anthony, I actually wanted to start off with a game that I think you should have on your list, and maybe you already do, and maybe you've already played it and I don't know. Have you heard of a game called Monster Train?
I have heard of it. I have not played it.
Seems like right up your alley. Like that deck builder. It's got that interesting story where you're on a train to hell and you're trying to like take hell back from whoever took it over or whatever the fuck. But you're just this multi-level deck building battling game.
Yeah, I've seen it. Is it? I want to say that I looked at it a couple times, and I've seen streamers play it. Is it early? It's not early access. Okay.
No, it's out. Yeah, it came out in June or July or something like that.
Yeah. I guess I mean, it's definitely not a thing that I'm like, oh, I don't want to try it, but I think it was more in a way of being like, but I have Slay the Spire.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
different one?
I have Diablo 3.
Uh,
Why play Path of Exile? Well, I guess those are different enough, maybe.
they are pretty different, and actually, this is probably pretty different than um, Slay the Spire. Like surface, yes, it is a deck builder fighting thing, but I'm sure mechanically it's quite different. And what I've seen, it's quite different in its setup and theme and how the fights play out. But I have heard really good things about it. Looking on Steam right now, it has like a 97% positive. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it looks really high, and it's been on a ton of GOTY lists that I've been listening to.
Huh.
And I thought, not for me, maybe, but definitely for Anthony. So I wanted to throw that out there first.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I'm sure I'll play it. I wonder if it will come to Switch. That's
That's always the thing,
that's
right?
when the deck builders on Switch are great.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you ever play the SteamWorld Dig franchise deck builder, Gilgamesh, Hand of Gilgamesh?
no,
I haven't either.
didn't
But...
even know that existed.
Oh yeah. Yep. They made it after SteamWorld Dig 2.
Okay.
I've heard some good things about it, but I'd never played it. All
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of deck builders now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, Slay the Spire is popular, and it's not a hard genre to make a game for. From a development, and I'm trying to think, basic gameplay wise, it gets hard when it comes to balancing and making all the cards and interactions. But
Right.
from a concept, like a core concept, it's like, oh, a deck builder. That's not that difficult to conceive of how you would make that. So there's a lot that haven't done great though. One in early access, Clay does one called Grifflands, which people seem really positive on.
Oh, nice.
But it's still in early access,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm just waiting for it to be out of there. But it's Clay, so I'm like, sure, give it to me. Let's try.
Right. At least give it a try. That's how I felt with Image and Form.
Yeah.
I really like SteamWorld games, so I figured I would give it a try, and I bought it and have not checked it out yet.
There you go.
Maybe it'll be one of my backlog binge games.
So it's up to me to have a game.
Yep, your turn.
I'll just have it in a random order. I want to play Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yes.
I've never played a Yakuza game, but if I'm going to play one, this seems to be the one I should play, and it's just turn-based JRPG battles, and from the little I have seen of it, completely absurd. With
Yeah.
the main character, the reason why it's turn-based battle is the main character is obsessed with Dragon Quest and Dragon Warrior.
In
And
game,
so
in game,
in
he is.
his mind, in his mind,
Oh no.
that's why you're seeing the world through his perspective, and that's why battles play out as turn-based JRPG battles.
Even though in reality,
enemies.
his reality, they're not. Oh
Exactly.
my god, that's awesome. But it was
I'm
like
oh my god.
like piss mages or like some sort of like the characters like really memorable in a way that's like silly and odd but work.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what kind of characters there are, but there are very they fit like the JRPG like stereotype, but they're not the actual, like there's like a black mage, right? But it's not a black mage. It's like a fucking I don't know, donut chef or whatever.
Yeah. And I know it's out now. I'm waiting for that one for PS5. There's a PS5 version of it coming out sometime by summer, I believe.
Yeah, and there's already a PS4 version, so the PS5 version is just going to be what six? Well, what would be different?
It's not just, I mean, it will just be probably much better designed for the console, the PS5. So I don't think it's going to get an upgrade as far as I've read. I could be wrong though.
No, because I've heard the same thing. It was for the longest time I heard about it on Xbox Series X, and then it was going to be on PS5 in summer, like you say. But then it's already out on PS4, and I was thinking, what if it's if it's a turn-based, like graphically?
Well, it's kind of open world, like big city open world type thing. I guess small city world. Like it's still a Yakuza game, and that you're running around a part of like Tokyo.
But isn't it like visual novel in between the battles, or is it not?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It's third person wandering around. Third person exploration action game. I don't know.
Cool.
So it's still the Yakuza games in that sense. It's just the battles are turn based, and you have a party that follows you around. So I only imagine that the PS5 will just have higher fidelity, more objects on screen at the same time.
Yeah.
Better frame rates. Maybe it has ray tracing. I don't know. I haven't checked on that.
I guess if Minecraft can have ray tracing, then anything can. So.
I mean, anything can. Doesn't mean anything should.
Yeah, that's true. For me, next is a game that I actually started playing today. Hard Space Shipbreaker is a game that I've heard about recently and started checking out. I think it's on your wish list, perhaps.
Potentially, I think it is actually.
Yeah, I think I saw it there. It's on sale, so I picked it up. But after playing No Man's Sky, I've been a lot more interested in space games for myself, but also anything that I can play with my daughter. And I don't think this is one of those, but it just seemed really appealing. Just this kind of worker who has just a ton of debt from going into space, and to get the debt cleared, he has to just cut apart space junk and spaceships and salvage the pieces, right? And it's like, I think like one of the reasons No Man's Sky appeals to me is it's mainly peaceful, just kind of chill, do your own thing, versus like a lot of the space games seem to be focused on combat or battling or whatever. I don't know if you know Becky Chambers, who does sci-fi novels.
I have heard that name.
She's great. She does what's called slice of life novels. She wrote Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
Yeah.
Close Common Orbit. The recent one was To Be Taught If Fortunate. But basically it's slice of life in that like nothing major happens. It's just like someone's life. And I was it's appealing to like have this worker who his life is just he cuts apart ships and pays off his debt, and maybe there's no big story beats besides that. So I decided to pick up today. And it's cool that it's early access because you can give feedback. There was I streamed it, so you can go back to this, and it gave me flashbacks to the tutorial for Astroneer, where there was a part of the tutorial, and I was just like, I am not getting something. I'm really not getting this. And I just like stopped and like read everything on the screen, really try to get this because you're a smart dude. You should be able to get this. I'm doing something wrong. And what was happening is in the first tutorial part, you're taught how to basically grapple something and kind of move yourself around and like yank smaller items off the spaceship and salvage them. And then the way that they present the buttons, like here's how you use the buttons. Use, R1 to grapple onto something, L2 to pull yourself forward, X to grab the thing and then push it toward the storage or whatever. And the way that it's listed in that sequence, it's a list. So it's in order. So you do this, then do this, then do that, then do this. It's not presented as though you must do 1 to then do 2, but it made sense. It's a sequential list basically. For the second one where you have to cut, it's not like that. The sequence is not in the right order. What you would do, like if you try to follow it exactly as a list, it doesn't lead you to what you need to do. And then there are a couple other things that were made clear, like you need to find the cut points in order to cut the pieces off the spaceship, but it didn't make clear how close you had to be. Like I was pretty close, aiming right at the joints, and it still wasn't cutting, and I was like, God, I'm fucking doing something wrong. But I needed to move forward like another like fourth of an inch to get in the range for it to like register or whatever. And that just comes down to like, I think just some of the onboarding in terms of the tutorial wasn't as clear as it could have been. But once you get it, it's pretty satisfying. Just like cut things apart and just like put them in a bin. That's kind of what it felt, that's what it was so far. So I've only done like maybe half an hour of the tutorial, but it really was just a lot of checklist, do the things, cut it apart, put it away. It's like taking, you build like a huge Lego structure, and at the end of the day, you like pull all the pieces apart and organize them and put them away. Sometimes that's really satisfying for me, and that's a lot of what this game was so far. So I'm looking forward to checking out more. It's should be full release next year, but with early access, it starts off with a song, really, really like well recorded guitar, like really intricate guitar picking. Sounds like it was done well in the studio. And then I swear to God, they have the developer's kid just reading the lyrics that they will fill in later with someone singing it. Unless that's their stylistic choice and that's how they're going to have it done. It was just very clear that it was unfinished, but cool,
Yeah, I've played the game. It's on my wish list. It's mostly, again, one to wait once early access is done. A couple people in the office picked it up and were playing it and said they really enjoyed it, but were waiting for more features to come online.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They got it when it first came out and had no updates, so they felt like, cool, I've done a couple ships of cutting apart ships and stuff, but there wasn't much point. They did it a couple times. We're like, okay, anything else? So it sounds like they've started adding more context to why you're cutting the ship and what it's doing for you. And I guess from what you're explaining, like getting maximum money to pay off debts and things like that.
Right, 'cause that's the main reason you're doing it. And like the wrapper around, like, I don't know, like story beats, like will there be? Or is it just you try to drive down that number because that number is astronomical and you would never do it? Or I don't know. It seems like you never would.
So one that I've been wanting to play and I've heard great things about is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
That's on my list too. Awesome.
Yeah, it's on a lot of best game of the year lists, and it is a visual novel for the most part, with a light mecha tactical thing, which is still very abstract from the video I watched of it. The meat of the game is this time looping visual novel.
Right. Yep.
I haven't really been spoiled on like why it makes game of the year. Like, just that people say that the story is incredible and that the use of the time looping is pretty ingenious.
Yeah, a lot of what I heard felt like it rested on the execution of the story.
Yeah.
So that's why it's on my list.
Yeah. I looked today, I was like, oh, is it on sale? No, it's a $60 game still.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which I'll have to wait before I get a bit more budget back to buy another game of that scale.
Right.
But
yeah, I think it was on sale a couple of weeks ago during one of the Sony sales, and it was like 10%. I was like, okay, yeah. I can wait.
So it's fine. But I also like, because it's Vanillaware who made it, and their art style is great. They're really good with that 2D sprite-based animation going on. So yeah, it's one that I really want to play. It looks cool. It probably, if I had played it, would probably be on my list somewhere. But
yeah, I feel that's one of the games that are story based and execute on the story well, like, seem to always make my lists. So I feel like if I had gotten into this, it would be here for sure as well. Another one that I just started on Switch is called If Found, and I think you probably heard about this game. It's like an indie game, probably a 2-hour experience, where the main mechanic is just erasing the screen. So you've got this, you got this kid's journal, and it's like you're introduced to like people in their lives and like these memories, and you have to erase the memory to get to the next part of the game. And on the, I guess on the PC, you'd be like using your mouse to scrub or whatever, but on the Switch, you can just use the touchscreen. So the whole game is me just wiping my finger across the screen. But it's got some pretty, like, it starts off really cool, like this woman in space, and she's lost and trying to jump to get home, and doesn't quite. Seems like she's not quite going to make it, and you're kind of trying to figure out like what the backstory is, and then it just rewinds all the way back to when she was a kid. And you're kind of getting a lot of backstory of different characters through journal entries. That's just kind of a lot of telling, just like reading. This is who this person is. This is who that person is. And it's like I don't know these people. There's no context really here yet. I'd rather know who they were before I get all that kind of info dump. But I kind of like the idea of the erasing, and I think that that's put into pretty good effect in terms of I don't like this memory. I need to get rid of it to move on to the next one, or I really love this memory and I have to erase it to move on. And that's, I think the story is impactful in an emotional way that I've heard so far. So I'm hoping to dig into that more before next week, to be honest.
Is there any mechanics tied to the erasing, or is it just you erase the entire screen all the time? As far as you know.
So far, it's just erasing the entire screen. I assume they do something different with it as you move forward. Otherwise, it would be. I mean, it's short, but even over 2 hours, that would still be kind of monotonous. They must play with it in some way.
Okay. Yeah, I see it on Steam. It's on sale, 30% off on Steam.
Yeah, that's what it was on.
Right now.
That's what it was on Switch. It was on 25 or 30% off. And I've been hearing, a lot of people in the Game of the Year ramp up on podcasts or whatever, talking about different things they've been playing. And a lot of people brought this one up, so I figured I'd check it out.
Yeah. My next one is Spiritfarer.
Another one on my list. Excellent.
I mean, it's showing up everywhere. Another one that's like, I just haven't had time to play it. I believe it's actually in Xbox
Game Pass. Yep.
Game Pass. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on there.
It launched in Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's there again another one that I wouldn't mind playing on Switch. I don't know. It seems like it has the right mix of things, and everyone talks about it being a pretty chill experience with a lot of heart, and very rewarding to get to the end of it. And it says it lasts like 30, 40 hours. So I don't know where I would fit that in to play something like that, but I like management games. I like the sim games, so this seems right up my alley. And I'm sure at some point I will play it. It's just finding that time.
Yeah, and for me, like it's on my list too. I really, after hearing how emotionally impactful the game is, it's definitely a game I want to dig into. But I don't think it's something I could handle in 2020. Maybe later in 2021. Yeah. For me, the next one is one that is probably going to be on your list next week. Final Fantasy VII Remake. By all accounts, it seems like it's a remake that somehow did the original proud, or kept parts of it, enough of it, but then put together I don't know, like a battle system that's different, but then you can still choose an option perhaps to play more turn-based instead of action RPG, and then just did this thing that sort of subverted the idea of a remake, where the story isn't quite what you expect, even if it's just like the Midgar section. Like it ends in a way that's like, oh, this isn't perhaps not a totally faithful remake, and does something different. And kind of all those things together, just to praise on all those levels. Like I want to find time to play this game.
Yeah. I mean, it does exactly what you said. It walks that very fine line of being an update to a very beloved game, but doing something new. And it works really well. I actually really like the combat system in it, how they updated it, and because it's action based, but it still feels tactical and feels like you have to wait and make choices using your abilities, and so it's not it's action combat, but it doesn't feel divorced from the ATB system of Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
the first one. And it's a pretty incredible accomplishment, the fact that they were able to pull this off and make something that lived up to, for the most part, people's expectations and did not shit on the original game.
God, it seems like that's, so hard. And it feels like this year maybe there are 3 that were remakes that, I think Final Fantasy is in a different category than the other 2 I'm going to mention, but Demon's Souls and Tony Hawk 1+2 seem to have done right to the original games, and sometimes that doesn't always happen.
No, not at all. What was the other remake this year that was an RPG, a console kind of RPG, action RPG? I can't remember the name of it. If it comes to me. But it wasn't well received either.
It wasn't 7, was it? Or not 7. It wasn't like a PS2 era one.
Not PS2. I think it was PS3 era.
Okay.
2020 RPG remakes.
Because there was one that came out, and I can't remember, that was just terribly received. I thought it was called 7 or something, but that's probably not right.
Yeah, I can't seem to find it. That's how much I'm like, I don't know. But yes, there was one that was not well received. And it felt, from looking at it, it just felt like it was very half done. They're like, put minimal effort into actually remaking it.
Yeah.
So, the 3 that you mentioned, definitely went above the bar and what people expected.
Right.
And mentioning from there, a thing that I'm not going to play, but I feel like I have a lot of respect for is the Dark Souls remake.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll play it at some point. I don't know. It's hard for me to commit to spending the money on a game like that whenever I've never gotten into any other FromSoft game. So
right.
It's like, to me, I'd be throwing away. Like, I would say with it, probably a 50-50 chance I'm just throwing away $60, $70 at that point to play this game.
Yep.
But I've watched plenty of it, and it looks gorgeous. Looks mechanically pretty fun. It is like the Souls games, but maybe a little bit more compelling.
It seems like, and more accessible. Like, it's something I'll talk about when we're talking about what we've been playing. But I've dabbled in Bloodborne, dabbled in Dark Souls 2 and 3, and then this one. And this is the only one that's like got me. Like, I'm gotten. I've hit my 5 hours, and I'm going to play more.
Yeah. So, again, I'm probably not going to play it anytime soon, but if a good sale comes along, or if in a couple of years, I could see it being on like greatest hits, PlayStation hits, or PS5. I'll probably pick it up at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's worth it just as a visual showcase. But you can also just fucking watch those videos on YouTube.
Yep.
And just imagine, especially if you don't have a 4K TV, like maybe not, because you know what 60 FPS looks like on anything. So, but man, it's I'll talk more about that later. But it's certainly compelling. Another one on my list that I played a little bit of, but my Game Pass ran out and I wasn't looking for a big game at that point, is Crusader Kings 3. If I had played more of that and gotten super deep into it, that would certainly be on my list. It just sounds like, and it comes across as, and maybe even is created as, a story simulator. Like just a deep medieval kingdom fantasy story generator. And just weird shit happens, and you just, roll with it and continue the lineage and continue the kingdom. You're running the kingdom, and someone you're fighting against kills you. You're now playing as that person, and you learn their backstory, and you continue on as them. And it's just like the stories that have unspooled from like just videos I've seen of people playing it. It would be something that I would really love.
Yeah, it's actually on my list too, because I just played tutorial.
Right.
The however many hours that took retaking Ireland. It's a fascinating game, absolutely fascinating, and yeah, it's definitely just creates compelling stories, and you can kind of just take it as far as you want in that way. And it's complicated as all fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's part of the thing with it is like the learning curve is high. Although this game I feel does a better job of just letting you kind of bumble your way through it and be like, you don't have to mess with everything all the time. Like,
Yeah, having played.
like it's a good program. Like I kind of say this usually about like Photoshop and being like, you can go into Photoshop and start messing around with stuff pretty quickly, but it's a program that as you learn more, you find more and more depth to it and more things you can do. And I kind of feel like Crusader Kings 3 is like that. Like you can dabble around and have fun with it, but as you understand more of it, you will get deeper and deeper, and there's always a new layer to uncover.
Yeah, after having dabbled a little bit in 2, this one was instantly more accessible to me.
Yeah.
So I think if I sat down, because I played a tutorial as well, but if I sat down and really dug into those systems, I think it would be comprehensible enough to get that meaty story piece out of it. Just the fucking laughs and the bizarre Game of Thrones turns to it, So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm hoping to get some time with that next year.
One that I know I will play at some point once I have the correct hardware, and probably would be a game of the year, Half-Life Alyx.
Oh yeah.
I just don't have a way to play it right now. I have the headset, I don't have the controllers, but I have the game even. But I can't play it right now. So eventually, maybe later as the year goes on, I have some offers from some coworkers that would let me use their Oculus handsets controllers to because you need that
Right.
grip controllers, like the free movement, to play it. So eventually, and everything I've seen, everyone I've talked to that's played it said it's absolutely amazing. Also will probably scare me shitless.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. But there's just some incredible environmental interactions, and basically if you think you can do it in real life, you probably can do it in the game. Like,
oh, that's crazy.
Like drawing with a Sharpie on windows. Like that's an interaction you can do in the game. You can, like, whenever you want to shoot through glass or break windows, it's like you actually like shoot the glass, and then like you can take your hand and like smack the rest of the glass out of the window.
Oh wow.
You can pick up chairs, like actually pick them up and throw things, and like any object in the game basically. So it's more than just like playing a game. It's an environment interaction showcase of what VR can do. And I really want to take part in it, but it will have to wait.
Yeah, it's one that I almost put on my list as well, but I don't have even the headset, so I was like, this is not something I can even touch. But the conversation around it, both in terms of everything you just said, but also a new Valve game that's stellar. Like, that's significant. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to hearing your report one day.
One day.
Next one on my list, I have a couple more. This is a small one. The Solitaire Conspiracy, which is a Biffle game. Kind of takes the concept of, the game of solitaire and puts some sort of like puzzle mechanic to it, and then puts like a villain. I think Greg Miller voices from Kind of Funny voices the villain in this game. And I'm drawn to it because I like Biffle games. I like Greg Miller, obviously, and I like the game of solitaire, and I like puzzles. So putting those all together in a blender, I'm kind of interested to see what it looks like. But I just didn't get around to it. But I'm hoping to soon.
I forgot about this one.
Yeah, it's on, Epic for $9, I think, right now.
Yeah, I saw it when it released, but then must have got sidetracked by something else. But Yeah, this should be totally on my list of something to just pick up, at least play casually for uh, a month or two, just in between other games. Great art style. Great art style.
The art style looks cool. There's just something about the whole style of it that is drawing me in. But I don't know. I have a limited amount of time, and like this year, I picked up a ton of like long games and just decided to stick with them, which is good. Up until this month. This month is just I'm fucking all over the place. But I really stuck with those long games, and those took up all of my gaming time this year. So, you got another one on your list?
Yeah, I've got. How many more do you have?
Probably 4, 5.
Okay, that's about what I have.
All right, cool.
Star Wars Squadrons.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick this up at all, and I don't think I'd pick it up for greatness in the single player standpoint. It sounds like the campaign is pretty run of the mill.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a couple coworkers who play it pretty consistent in multiplayer and say it's incredible. Like you and your squad going out fighting an Imperial squad, dogfighting the whole thing, and they're like, yeah, it is the Starship space combat game they always wanted. So, didn't get around to it because I'm like, I don't know if I would spend a ton of time in the multiplayer, and if the campaign's not doing a whole lot, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they keep talking about it, and I'm like, well, if I do get it, I at least have people that I could play with that would help me out to learn it, and I am a sucker for Star Wars, so there we go.
Did you play Battlefront 2, the new one?
No, I didn't, because when that first came out, it had all the loot box bullshit.
Yes, it did.
So I did not do that. I was like, and I'm out. I'm not going to buy this right now.
Right.
And it just kind of fell by the wayside. Although I heard its single player was pretty damn good.
I think if you're a Star Wars fan, it was for sure.
Yeah.
Because it has everything, right? It just felt felt too disjointed for me to really get into.
I see.
And then I fucking hate space combat. So once we got to the space combat part, I was like, I'm out. Like, this reminded me of Star Fox Zero. I'm done.
Oh, man.
It was not that bad. Not that bad at all. But, yeah. Star Fox Zero. God, what fucking... Oh, my God. Just saying those words.
You brought it up.
I know. Oh, God damn it. But cool. Yeah, Squadrons. Brad liked it. He played that and liked it a lot. Next one on my list is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which I bought a while ago. I liked the first one. I seriously am... Probably I got halfway through the final level of the last one and then just didn't finish it, which sucks. I need to get back to that. But by all accounts, it's like improved in every way. Is like one of the best Metroidvanias there is. Like obviously art style, music, everything looks great. And I've been meaning to get back to this. And then today I was listening to a podcast where people were arguing about Game of the Year, and this was their Game of the Year. And one of the guys in the debate was basically saying this game is the people who in Moon Studios made Ori, and then they played Hollow Knight, and they took the best parts of Hollow Knight and married it with the best parts of Ori, and that's what Ori and the Will of Wisps is. And I was just like, I have to fucking play this game right now. Hold me back. So this is a January game. I'm getting into this as soon as I can. So yeah, I think if I would have played it, it would be somewhere on my list.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. This seems like a game right up your alley.
Yeah.
Next for me, probably would have been on my list. I guess I never played it, so I don't feel like I could put it on my list. But Last of Us Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I watched all of it. Never played it, but I watched all of it.
Right.
So
right.
I don't feel like I can put this on my Game of the Year list because I've never actually touched it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, is I'm never going to touch it.
Yeah.
But everything I watched and saw, it is incredible. I mean, you've played it and stuff. Like, from a technical level, it's awe-inspiring. Like, you're like, holy hell, the animations are incredible. physics and the way that like the puzzles work in it, like the rope shit, and like the fact that that stuff just works as you would expect it to, is crazy. The way that animations just flow together perfectly as you're attacking. It uses the same kind of animation tech that the Assassin's Creed games kind of Ubisoft had gone to. I don't remember the exact term, but it's basically instead of having all these pre-canned animations, they record just hundreds of animations, and as you're going and moving and doing attacks, it smoothly blends through all these animations. That figures out, like, based on the state of what the gameplay is and what's around in the environment, what animation should be playing. So you can do very smooth combat, and switch between different actions without it like being very jarring, or animation.
It is polished as fuck. That game.
So, and the voice acting is incredible. The story is great. Performances are equally as incredible. So I feel like it should be on Game of the Year lists. It's just not going to be on mine because I never touched it. I respect it a ton, but I've never touched it, and I'm not going to.
That's why we're doing this list. It's for all the games we didn't play.
I didn't play it.
It's that game.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I suspect we'll be talking about that game in the near future.
Yeah.
Another game for me that I've just barely seen wisps of and heard a lot of people talk about is Umurangi Generation, which is basically you're in like an end of the world. I think it's like, I don't know if it's post-apocalyptic, but it's like end of the world, and you are shooting pictures. So it's like an FPS, but you're taking pictures instead of shooting guns. Taking pictures of the environment, doing different missions to take pictures of certain things. And it just seems like a really chill game in a not so chill environment. That juxtaposition is kind of interesting to me. But I guess it was kind of explained as like Pokemon Snap, but dark.
I mean, that's the thing. Anytime someone brings up a thing of being like, well, you don't shoot things, you actually just take pictures of the things. I'm like, oh, it's Pokemon Snap.
Yeah. Right.
Which everyone loved. And it's, I think, a cool mechanic overall that fits the same vibe as like a shooter in some ways, but in that non-violent way.
Yeah, and I think I didn't play Pokemon Snap, but my impression is that was a on rails experience. Does that track with your experience? Yeah. Yep. I think this is not.
You're just going around taking pictures. Seems up my alley. I like all these small little games, but there's so many. That's why.
I know, and if your gameplay is, digging into meaty 60-hour games, it's hard to get to a lot of the smaller ones.
Yeah. Next for me is, and I will play this at some point, probably the next year, Miles Morales.
Oh God, yes, dude.
I really want to get that. I want to get the special edition that has Spider-Man and Miles Morales.
Yes,
and I just want to play
it.
Although I've heard Miles Morales is just, honestly, I've heard is just a better game, hands down. It might be smaller and shorter, but it's a much more fulfilling game.
That makes it better.
Yeah, exactly. It has better pacing than the 2018 Spider-Man.
So much better.
But it looks really cool. I don't think I can hold off playing these games for much longer. And then they have that performance. Was it the Ray Trace 60 now mode? I'm just like, I saw Digital Foundry do a breakdown showing the differences between is it quality? Quality is one side, performance is the other, and then like whatever that middle ground was, the Ray Trace 60.
Yeah, because I haven't played that Ray Trace 60 yet, so I don't know what they're calling it.
Yeah, but it's just this middle one, and like, yes, the 30 FPS with full ray tracing, well, it does look incredible.
Oh God, it looks amazing. Yep.
The game is held back at 30, I would say. It just doesn't feel nearly as smooth, but the ray traced 60, which is really just ray traced reflections that they've turned on.
Okay.
But it makes the whole world just feel so much more alive. It's like with everything that's ray traced, I can tell right now, if done right, it just makes the whole scene feel grounded because it's much more real lighting, and it shows, and it makes things visually just feel like more immersive into the world. So I'll get there. I plan on it. It's definitely up there on the list of things to play. With everything else also coming out next year. So,
I was gonna say 2021's not slowing down, man. Oh man.
Well,
Like this whole thing is like a backlog for games I want to play next year, And it's like, fuck, I didn't have time this year, in like the year where we all stayed home all year.
yeah.
I've got 3 more on my list. One's Ghost Runner. Feels like Katana Zero, but first person. Looks fun. I picked it up actually today on Epic because the fucking $10 coupon treadmill. Every time you buy a game, get $10 coupon. Works pretty well for me when I'm looking at $20 games. So I'm getting them for $10 and just moving on. It's building that Epic backlog, which is what Epic wants. It's working on me.
Yep.
So I'll probably check.
It's the devs too, because they get that $10 anyway.
Oh yeah, they're not losing any money. Absolutely.
Nope.
I did mention to you that, like, I don't know if other devs are doing it, but Ubisoft, for example, Watch Dogs Legion is $30 everywhere, except for Epic, where it's $40.
Oh,
so they
okay.
factored that in, basically.
Okay.
You're getting $10 free, great. You'll pay $30, and we'll still get $40. So no thanks.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What else you got?
I only have one more.
Okay.
And it is Age of Calamity.
Oh yeah.
It just didn't have a spot for me to play it, really.
Yeah.
I guess I could have played it with Cyberpunk when it got... No. Cyberpunk got pushed to when Age of Calamity was coming out, right? Yeah, that was the issue.
But I think you started playing Valhalla.
I did, in between. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'll play Valhalla to fill the time. But Hybrid Warriors is definitely the one that I'm like, man, this one got kind of screwed in my lineup. And I've really enjoyed the demo quite a bit. So
the game is great in terms of, like, a Muso's a Muso, whatever. It is the best Muso that I've played, because there's just such variation between the characters, and the story is... I watched the whole thing with my daughter. Like, I haven't finished the game, but I've watched the whole story with my daughter because she was so excited for Age of Calamity, and she just is in love with Pura. Like, she has Pura dolls we made, and she's just always acting like Pura and, like, using all of her phrases and shit. It's just crazy. She runs around the house saying precisely, and then bobbles a Sheikah slate in her hand, which is part of what thing that happens in the fucking movie. And I cried at the end of that movie. Like, legit cried. And I was like, what is happening? And my daughter was just so sad. Oh my gosh. But then everything, whatever. I don't want to spoil the ending, but it's a Nintendo game, guys. But it was touching. It was really nice. So the gameplay is great, the story is great. I'd like to experience them both together over the long haul. But yeah, I think you'll like that as well. Although I think it depends a little bit on how much you love a Muso.
I feel like I'm gonna have to learn to love them.
Yeah, I think the story's good. Some people hate it.
Age of Calamity, and then February I've got Strikers.
Fuck, Strikers,
That's
right.
Strikers, I'm just gotta be like, well, guess I'm gonna play some Musos.
Yeah. You might want to wait on one of them, and I think you're probably gonna wait on Age of Calamity.
Probably.
Yeah. Speaking of Strikers, the other major game on here before my silly game is Persona 5 Royal. I have it. I want to play it. It's the way to play Persona 5 if I haven't... Like, I heard a bunch of people who are like, if you've, played 20 hours or whatever, Persona 5, which is what I have, 15, 20 hours, and you've fallen off, don't restart there. Just start Persona 5 Royal. Like, the quality of life enhancements and whatever else is just significant enough that you might as well just do the definitive edition.
Yes. No arguments from me on that.
Yeah. And the last one, just because I'm fucking obsessed with fantasy football, I don't know how I didn't play this. I need to play Blazeball.
I played a little bit of it.
Have you? God.
It's so weird. It's so random.
Yep. It's basically
it's
fantasy baseball.
Kind of.
In a weird.
But even more than that, you're just betting on things.
Exactly.
Like that's all you're
right.
doing. It's betting, and then the community has created absurd storylines around everything.
I love it.
Yeah. It's a thing. And I have to be honest, I didn't get super into it. I played it for a few weeks, just kind of visit once a day, make my bets along. But clearly some people get really into it. Really into it.
Yeah, there's a Blazeball Discord. I'm about to get into this. Like, fantasy football is leaving my life this week because I'm done. So I need something to fill the void, and it's going to be Blazeball. At least I'm going to start it and see how it goes.
I mean, the team that I was, because you get to pick a team, not that you're on, but like your favorite team. I picked the Hades Tigers.
Oh, nice.
So, but there's some hilarious team names.
The San Francisco Lovers.
Yeah.
Is one. What's the Mexico City Hot Wings or something like that? Let's see here. Mexico City Wild Wings. Yep, the Hades Tigers. Seattle Garages.
Yeah.
That one's good. The Canada Moist Talkers.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, unlimited tacos. So good.
Some flowers, Philly pies.
Yeah, I'm getting into this.
It is ridiculous. It is, and yeah, I think you might get pretty into it.
I think I'm gonna look back at this podcast and be like, this is Larry before Blazeball, and then see where I'm at in a month.
Is one going on now? Your season 11 champions are the Hellmouth Sunbeams. When is the next league? Oh wait, today's Sunday, so I think one starts tomorrow. Because I think they last. They think they last a week each. I think that's how it works. I watched a video that explained this thing to me and some aspects of it, of like how often games happen and kind of why people were getting so into it. So I felt like I had to at least experience it and see what the hell everyone was talking about.
Yep, exactly. That's where I'm at. Along with I play fantasy baseball, which is fucking insane. Fantasy football has nothing on fantasy baseball in terms of insanity. Because fantasy football is like usually once a week. Obviously, there's like a Thursday and a Monday game or whatever. But fantasy baseball, every fucking day, you're switching your lineup.
Yeah.
Because there's games every day. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the end of my list. That's everything that I haven't played that I want to play or want to play more of.
Yeah, same with me.
All right. What about
I feel like
what
there's
you've
so many games constantly, and I'll never have time to play all these games ever.
At all? Yeah, totally.
Maybe whenever we're old and retired, then I can go back and play all these hundreds of games in my backlog, thousands at that point. And that's just what I do until I die.
I sometimes dream of that. Like retirement, I can just have my PS4 and play all those games I never played. And my Steam library, obviously, which is nuts at this point.
Yeah. So what I have been playing, well, Cyberpunk. 81 hours into the game, I did beat it. Finally, I chose to finish, and I've finished and seen 2 of the endings because I could save at a point where I could.
Yeah, right.
Do 2 of them off the same thing. I can see the other 2 by going back to an earlier save. I just have to play through the final mission again, which actually isn't hard. And I would say, while I enjoyed it, like a lot of things in this game, it feels like it's truncated.
Like purposely in terms of ran out of time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
It truncated in the fact that like everything works and is polished. It's there. It just feels like it was meant to be longer in some places.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the side missions leading up to it are more involved than the final mission, which seemed a little weird. So yeah, I think it just like most things in this game, content was cut, pieces were glued together, and it was not doing stupid bugs, in a generally high quality way, story wise and set piece wise, they work. But I did feel completely and totally overpowered. I was level 47 when I finished went into the final mission, which 50 is max level. And it didn't scale to me. I just obliterated everything. I obliterated the final boss in seconds.
Oh my gosh, that's like not. Before I say what it's not,
destroyed it.
I guess my question that I want to ask you is, when you're done with this, do you feel satisfied with your experience with the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing about it. Like I look at it, I'm like, it's flawed, has issues, but I did spend 81 hours where I really was having a good time while playing. Okay. So, and a lot of times the bugs just made it more entertaining. Like, yeah, it ruins the mood, but there's hilarious shit that happens. Like, I won't spoil the ending of what happens, but there's a scene in one of the endings where you put on aviator glasses, but I already had equipped aviator glasses, so 2 pairs of aviator glasses, and then in another part of the cutscene, yes, and then in another part of the cutscene, I take off a pair of aviator glasses, but I'm still wearing a pair of aviator glasses. It's like the meme where the person takes off and so it's exactly that meme. When that was happening, I was like, oh my god, I need to report this because this is like the most amazing meme, but I don't want to spoil the end of the game for people.
Right.
But it was.
Oh, you're so nice.
I'm like, okay, yes, this was not the tone that you were going for, but this is chef kiss. Perfect.
For God, perfect. It's like a perfect encapsulation of the game. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
It was that was kind of worth it. But overall, I mean, they have a very solid core of a game. Can they make it better? And I will say one of the endings, the one I did first, feels in some ways like the canon ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sets some stuff up. Like you finish it and then there's some setup to different things, and where it ends makes me feel like there's an expansion for it built off that ending. Like in the works kind of thing. Yeah, not in the works, or like the story. That's where the story's going to go. If they added an expansion to the game. Right. So, but I'm sure that's way the hell out at this point. Oh God, they couldn't even talk about it. I feel like they couldn't talk about it, and I feel like any of their plans for any of the free DLCs, any expansion that is not fixing the game, like anything they do this game that isn't fixing it and getting it up to expectations, or at least not as buggy as it is been pushed out to who knows when, and they're not going to talk about any of it for a while. I expect it will still happen at some point, though. Just, it might be a 2-year wait now before the information. So, I just feel like they are going to fix this, and they're going to salvage it. Because it sounds like the bones are fairly good. Yeah, they are. It's not balanced particularly well. Mm-hmm. Hacking is dumb. So just from my experience with it in that short 2-hour time, I was like, I don't know why I would hack. Like, this doesn't seem like it's going to pay off. Hacking is incredibly powerful. It's really dumb. Like, it's what made me just destroy the game. Oh, okay. You break the game with it. It seems really trivial at the beginning. You're like, oh, this isn't great. No, never mind. If you invest heavily into it, it becomes absolutely broken. OP is. Yeah. I can just be behind cover and make entire encounters just go away. Just
No.
just die. And again, I'm over leveled too, but I was like, oh, never mind. At some point, it was basically actually the mid-teens, like the high teens, where I just got enough perks and the right gear, and it just finally just kind of tipped over into being dumb. Like I'm just fireballing everything
Yeah.
all the time. So yeah, that didn't feel fairly balanced at all.
This is a game that coming back to in 6 months, you think will look significantly different?
Potentially, let's see what they consider a big patch. Because January is supposed to get one.
Right, that's true. They said January and February.
I'm curious what those mean. And that will be my gauge to see if 6 months is the right time frame or a year is the right time frame. So
yeah, because
we'll
I think I'm settled on wanting to play it. I think if you've gotten through it and said it's satisfying and the writing was worthwhile, I think I want to experience it all the way through. But I don't want to do that until it's at basically 1.0, even though I know they say this is 1.0. So.
This is not 1.0.
Yeah.
The only other thing I've played this weekend, I will put played in quotes because it's not computer. For Christmas, I got this book called 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And it's been a tabletop thing that I've been looking at and heard about for like the last 6 months. And it's a nice hardback book, small, like normal book size hardback, not RPG size. And it's a solo RPG. And you play 1,000-year-old vampire. You create any time period you want. You just say, like, you just make a sentence of, like, this is who I am. And it is effectively just writing prompts. Random writing prompts.
Well, that sounds fucking rad.
I think you would love this. It is one of the most creative things I've ever experienced.
And what's the name?
1,000-year-old vampire.
Okay. Off to the
Google
machine.
I tweeted about it on Christmas Day because I picked it up like that night. I'd started messing with it and doing the whole thing, and so I had done 4 prompts that had already far exceeded my expectations. But basically, I was like, okay, I have to start somewhere because it's like, just make a character any time period, whatever you want. So I was like, all right, my Spartan turned vampire by a Persian at the Battle of Thermopylae has a rival for the Persians' affections. My rival discovers my discarded armor and uses it to go on a murderous rampage in my hometown, which turns my best friend against me, thinking that he thinks that I'm the culprit. And he tracks me and discovers my curse of vampirism, and attempts to kill me. I kill him in self-defense, and in my grief flee to Rome to find safety. That was 4 prompts, and that's my condensed version where I've written like a couple sentences for each of these prompts. And that's 4, and I think it'll probably be like 30 by the time I'm done with the game, of 30 prompts of randomly going through here and like the prompt I'm at right now. What piece of contemporary technology can you not interact with due to your vampire nature? How did your first encounter with this technology almost get you destroyed? Check a skill, and you have skills and resources. So check a skill is like, from your prompt, what skill do you have that you used while this is going on? And so you just write a couple sentences about that. And then go to the next thing.
It's an actual book.
Yeah. And the thing why it's 1,000-year-old vampires, you're doing these, and these are experiences, these prompts. You just write a couple sentences and an experience. You have to put an experience with a memory. A memory holds 3 experiences. You can have 5 memories. If you ever have an experience, you're full and don't have a place to put a new experience, you have to forget a memory. and strike those memories from your record as you've lived so long and start a new one. So any of the
Huh.
attached to are gone. So you just start continuing, like you forget where you're born, you forget your parents, you forget, like the part I just read here, I'm pretty sure a few prompts from now I'm going to have to forget about killing my friend and fleeing to Rome.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
it's just super creative.
Dude, I fucking want this. Wow. If I had known about this before Christmas, I could have had this on my list for my wife. She would have loved to get this for me.
And yeah, there's two ways.
She still can.
Yes. There's two ways to play. There's this write a couple sentences, and then there's one that they talk about called you can play it in a journaling fashion, and they say it will take weeks to play, but you're actually paragraphs. Like you're writing the story out as you go.
Oh my god, I want this.
I've seen some people online post theirs, and they're talking like they're big, they're short story length, novella length journals, basically.
Right.
And it's weird. I hadn't really thought about solo RPGs all that much, but this one had popped up over the year with a couple reviews on sites that I check and stuff, and saying it's really good, and it kind of would. If you're skeptical about them, might turn you that way. And yeah, I'm not skeptical anymore. This is incredibly well done. And if you treat it as just a series of writing prompts, it's pretty incredible.
Did you buy it through itch, or how did you get it?
I have a physical copy, and I got it.
How'd you get that?
It's their
through just the 1,000-year-old vampire webpage.
Yeah, 1000yearoldvampire.com.
Yep.
The $45 one.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
It's
Okay,
an
great.
incredibly high quality book too. Like, it's sturdy. It has like the two ribbons, like really thick paper. Great graphic design. It has like gold etched front cover. You can see the foils.
And is what I'm having trouble understanding what I'm getting for $45. Is it just the hardware cover book?
Yeah, it's the hardback book.
Okay, because there's like different amounts, and I'm not sure. Oh, those are the other books? Oh, those are his other books. Got it. Okay. Okay, cool. Got it. Thank you. I am definitely going to pick this up. That sounds right up my alley. More than Blazeball. Blazeball sounded pretty good. Anything else you've been playing this week besides those fucking awesome things?
That's it.
Okay, so for me this week, let me try to get. I talked about if found earlier, so I won't go into that now. Demon Souls, dude. So Magic Mages are easy mode, and I started with a sword and board, and then I read about mages and talked to Travis a lot about mages. He's our resident Souls dude. And he's like, yeah, it's easy mode. There's no challenge, eventually, which is probably true. But my reasoning for restarting as a mage is it'll teach me the game. So then I feel like I'll be better prepared to come back through as a sword and board and play the game differently. And mage is basically just ranged attacks, for the most part. I do get in close with my melee weapon. But for the most part, I'm doing, magic, and just the fucking level design, and I know people talk about this all the time, but the level design of FromSoft in this game, to like kind of loop through a castle, and just at every turn there may be like somebody hiding trying to attack you or whatever. I've never played a game so methodically, so slowly, and so patiently, like the opposite of button mashy, that I am accused of, lovingly. Ever. This game is so tense in like a really fun way, and just like getting to the first boss was more satisfying than even beating the first boss, even though it was great to beat the first boss. Just getting there, that whole thing was just an exercise, and I've beaten 2 bosses now. But with the mage, it is a little cheesy, in that you can attack from distance, but you can still get fucking wrecked. Like the main boss, the second boss, the Tower Knight, like 2 hits I was dead. But then there's a way to get up, to basically cheese it, so you can get up on the ledge where he can't hit you, and then target his head and just kind of get the timing just right to hit him. So that's how I beat the second boss, and that definitely did not feel super satisfying. So I'd like to go back through as another character and really, now that I'm playing the game and knowing how the things work, to do that. But I don't think all the bosses are going to be that cheesy. And just getting there was, getting there, it took me probably 10 tries to get there. And when I finally figured out how to get past this certain bridge with the dragon burning shit down, super satisfying. I'm past the 5 hours that we were benchmarking for me for this game, and I want more. So, and it looks great. I'm playing 60 FPS version instead of the the beautiful 4K. No, not 4K. 4K 30. But still love it. And other than that, Hades, which I was playing last night, that you saw me playing, which was super cool to kind of chat with you a bit. What'd you say?
You're so close. You're getting there.
Oh, man. So just on a fucking lark, every once in a while, I'll just be like, I just need to do a darkness run so I can get more darkness to buy whatever I need. And whatever weapon has the darkness, I'll pick it up. So it was the Fists of Typhon, not Typhon, that's fucking different game. What is it, Morphon?
Malphon?
What are the fists called? Malphon, sure. Anyway, the fists, and just I got the right boons where like my special, like it just amped up the damage from the beginning to like 300%, and then it added deflect. So in Elysium, and even with the Hydra, where I'm just getting shit thrown at me left and right, I just kept specialing people, and it would deflect their shit right back at them. So I was really not taking a lot of damage. I got to Theseus and the bull, whose name I cannot remember ever, with all my Depth Defiance, all my health, and that's never happened. And I definitely made some mistakes in that fight, partially because I got too excited at some points. But I beat him with one Depth Defiance, and then my Scully's tooth, or Skelly's tooth. And then I was like, I'm not gonna make it to Hades. And then I did you told me it was like 2 to 5 of those chambers is when you'll get the sack to distract Cerberus, and it was 4. And after doing 3, I had almost no health, and I was like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna do this. And you're like, you told me to go to the Athena room, and I had to go through a couple, but my special was just so powerful that I'd go into a room and I would clear it out in seconds. That and my cast, actually, that had a duo on it that would bounce around.
Yeah.
And then I got Cerberus out of the way and went to Hades, and I'm convinced, and I know you're not going to tell me, I'm convinced there's a second form, because I got him down to, he had a third of his health left, and I think if I had, now that I know the fight better, and that I know now I can attack the skulls, because when I attacked the skull, I thought that's what set it off, so I tried to stay away from him.
They have a timer above their head, and they go off when the timer goes down. So it's 5 seconds from when they stop moving, and you don't want to get hit by a skull. Try not to get hit by those things, because they don't do that much damage, but they put blood curse on you, and you take double damage while it's on you.
That's not good.
Yeah, and so Hades can do a lot of damage. So, but yes, you can attack the skulls.
Okay, great. That will help me next time, because those things are the ones that I think were wrecking me the most. I don't think I was getting hit by Hades that much. I was getting hit by those fucking things. So I'm convinced there's a second form, because of all the bosses, I felt like his was the easiest the first time through. Like, I felt like I think if I go to him again with a similar setup, I will beat him, if that's his only form, which makes you think it's not, because there's got to be a second form. And it was just like fucking thrilling for a couple reasons. Like, just when those boons all fit together right, like the synergy is just like supremely satisfying, more than anything else that I felt in games this year. And then just the story, like once you get to Hades, then it like opens up new story components with the characters that are around. And then I assume if you beat Hades, then it opens up new character dialogues. The way that narrative is spooled out in this game is just, for a roguelike, where you're supposed to just repeat and repeat and repeat. They've changed the formula, so the repeating is getting new story. Like, that's the hook and the reward. obviously also like the mechanics of all the different weapons is pretty cool too. But it's that. I mean, we'll talk about it more next week. But for a long time, it's been a couple of games on the top of my GotY thought process, and last night was significant for me. So, and I can't wait. I started a new run immediately, and it's cool that you can just, end your run, or, save and quit or whatever. I beat Meg or whoever it was, and then just saved out because I was tired. So I can pick right up there, and I have the sword because the sword had the darkness this time, and I again picked up a special that is really strong and has a really good area of effect. Effect? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, that I think I'll have a deep run. I don't know if I probably won't get past the bull and Theseus, but I'll get close.
I think you seem like you were getting, when I was watching and stuff, I mean, I gave you the basic advice. Focus on the bull. Try to avoid the spear, Theseus spear, as best you can. I think if you don't beat them, I feel like you are well on your way to mastering that fight.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of learning a few more of the intricacies of it. But watching you play with the fists, I'm like, you have the basic structure of this fight down. And I think you'll get through it.
I think it's about practice, obviously, because I think that's probably my fourth time in that fight, so I just need to do it more consistently. But it kind of feels like, and I don't know if this is true or not, but Elysium feels like the hardest area in the game because the poison sucks, obviously, in those chambers, but if you have the right stuff, it doesn't seem to take that long to get through them.
Elysium is a wall, and I think Elysium is the one that was the most challenging for me for the longest time. And it's still challenging whenever I was playing and would just hit walls sometimes there, being like, it was very clear that my build just wasn't working. But all hope is not lost, because sometimes you can find Patroclus, the run saver, and replenish
I met him
death defiances or whatever.
I met him for the first time on that run. Never
Nice.
seen him before. So I got his boon, and then you can, like, when I saw what you could buy from him, I was like, oh, that's awesome if you get here with none, because I had all but one, so I didn't use that. I used something else, but that's like a fucking lifesaver. Holy shit.
It can be a lifesaver, and usually as I was going along, like, getting better at it, I was never there with needing death defiances, but I would take, like, his attack up bonus, because it's ridiculous. Like, if you have a very attack-focused build, you can just wreck things once you have his boon, because for the next 10 encounters. So it lasts well into Styx as well. And can help quite a bit. The game has a lot of nice things like that, where you're never completely out. There's always like, oh, if I get this rune, or if I get a fountain, see this person, I might be able to get through this, which is nice. It is another very well tuned part of that game.
Is anything not well tuned in this game? God,
I don't think so. I think it is pretty meticulous. I'll be honest, and tuning and designing games is really hard, because a game is just a giant house of cards of design. Change one thing, you change 100 other things, or have to consider all the ramifications of that one change. And it feels like they have taken into consideration all the ramifications of their changes, and all their systems, and how they all tie together. And I believe that last week they put an update on Switch, so it has cross saves now.
Yes, I saw that, and it's $20 on Switch right now.
Yeah,
it's just with my gaming laptop, I can just play it anywhere. So I'm not sure that I will probably pick that up eventually. I don't know if I will. So I have no idea. I'm sure it runs well. So
just like here, Supergiant have more money.
That's true. That's a fucking. I mean, I'm sorry if this is spoiling next week, but it's a fucking masterpiece, that game.
Yeah.
It is a masterpiece. Like if it is indeed the game of the year, it might be like the game of the decade, in terms of how satisfying everything clicks together.
Yeah. It was great watching you play it last night, though.
Oh
Like,
man,
and especially whenever you finish the Theseus fight, and you're like, "Oh, my hands are tired." I'm like, "Yeah, that fight, especially." I feel like as you're first learning it and stuff, that fight is long and it takes a lot of focus.
yes,
I would say later on, as you get more practiced and stuff, I'm fights in general go a lot faster. Again, you just learn the fights more and better, and you tend to be much more comfortable with what you can pull off and where you can push your luck, and you can wreck
Right.
things really fast.
Yep.
But God, some of those fights are insane, and then there are some things later where you can adjust difficulties and stuff, and all those fights are as intense as they were again. So
Oh yeah. That's
the game
cool
doesn't
when you
doesn't lose its challenge. I will say that.
right. Kind of. I mean, it's probably not similar, but it makes me think of the Diablo levels where you can play like Hell 3 or Torment or whatever it's called. And
Kind of, just
bring-
with more nuance to it. So
Mhm.
you'll beat it for the first time and you'll see what I mean. But you have
Yeah.
a lot of options on how you want to adjust your difficulty.
I assume it's something like front attacks do like triple damage and back attacks don't, or something like
Yeah,
that granular.
kind of like that. Not that granular, but things of like bosses are different now. Like Meg's different. That fight's different. The Hydra's a different fight. Theseus is a different fight. Hades is a different fight.
Dude, with just real quick, with that shit that I had last night, that Hydra fight was fucking easy.
Yeah.
Like it was nothing. That felt
Yeah.
good.
It feels great when they all come together. And then and you'll get farther and more comfortable. You'll start taking the boons to craft your taking the keepsakes to craft those builds more consistently. So
Yeah, right.
that's another point where the game, you're like, oh, this could get boring if it was just so random. You're just hoping that these builds come together. It's like,
Yep.
well, you get confident enough and you start making those builds come together. Like,
Yeah, I feel like
you take away parts of the randomness.
I feel like with Tartarus specifically, like I don't need any keepsake to get through there, like without really much of a challenge. So I could use one of those things that give me like Athena's boon first or whatever, you know. I might actually do that next run.
You can start crafting it and being like, okay, if I'm gonna use the fists, I want Zeus on my attack.
Right.
Or Athena dash is always good. Athena dash is best dash probably. It can become a crutch. I will say that.
I liked Zeus's dash.
Zeus is
which
good.
Shocking. Yeah.
Depending on your build, a Poseidon dash is really good. The splash dash that pushes
Oh
people
yeah.
away. So like that's especially good if you're using things like the spear, the bow, the gun, things that have
Right.
distance. You can dodge in, push things back, and get some attacks out. Or you build it up even more with more Poseidon boons where you like splash them. They take slam damage from walls that's increased. Then they take rupture damage on top. Like there's ways that you can just like amplify your damage from like pushing people around. And I think
Right.
there's a duo boon with Zeus on that when someone gets pushed by an ability, they get shocked by lightning as well. I've done
awesome.
some crazy things with that build. The Poseidon Zeus stuff is a lot of fun.
Dude, the synergy in this game, like
Yeah.
once you finally hone it,
Yeah,
it's
feels really
yeah.
good. Feels really good.
Yeah. Dude, now I want to. Every time I talk about it, I just want to keep playing. So let's do that. Anything else for the podcast this week?
No, nothing else.
Awesome. Oh shit! No, one more thing for me, real quick. I also played Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
Oh.
It's fucking great. It is really, really good. Turn off the fucking everything. Turn off the compass. Turn off the mini map. Don't use the far site, just explore. And there's just like tons of little mysteries and things that are just like, what's that all about? And you kind of just follow your nose a little bit, and you just get rewarded with these little, just small rewards for that. Exploration is rewarded if you don't know what's around the corner. It's pretty fucking cool. Really cool. So if you didn't like Valhalla, and I've been playing that too, and it's slow. Immortals is really good. You should definitely check that out when it's on discount in your range eventually.
Probably
and
will.
I'll stop there. Well, this is Prof and Dev Play Games. This was episode 273. If you got here but didn't start at the beginning, I didn't fucking give the code. Holy shit. Well, if you got here, I was going to give you a code and I forgot. Well, here it is. This is for The Beast Inside on Steam. EKGAWIDDICFWD0L. I meant to do that at the beginning, but hey, if you're here at the end, it's yours. Rate us on your podcast service of choice. Tell your friends, and we will see you, I guess, in 2021. We made it, folks.
What? Yes, we did.
Fuck, what a year. All right, see y'all.
Later.